What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, Epictastic Nation. This is Joshua Drake of Epictastic Joshua, and I'm giving you guys my little ranking of all 6 Final Destination movies from my least favorite to my favorites. Now, I originally had a video of this recorded, yeah, the day I shot my review of Final Destination Bloodlines, but we ran into some trouble when I looked at the overall unedited footage and it was just lagging. So this is an excuse for me to go back and redo it, and this is one of the more consistent horror franchises out there, next to Scream and Evil Dead. Aside from one movie in this franchise I'm just not the biggest fan of, I pretty much enjoyed them all. So with that being said, we're gonna kick this off and rank this from my least favorite to my favorites. And I figure since Draft's Final Destination Bloodlines is doing so well, why not? So all of my reviews, these are on the channel. I'll also link them in the description box down below, so that way you can easily find them. So with that being said, let's do it. And with every franchise, you gotta have the worst one, and that has not changed to this day because the Final Destination 4 is easily the worst of this entire franchise. What's a pathetic excuse to try and be the last Final Destination movie? And this is a situation when I was a kid, I loved this movie. I thought it was the best one. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was kick ass in 2009. I just thought it ended things decently. But man, wow, look at me now as a 26-year-old autistic film lover and YouTuber. And let me tell you this right now, this movie sucks ass, man. Every time I rewatch it now. The 3D in this is pathetic because this was at the time where we had Avatar come out, the first one, and then a lot of other movies were being post converted into 3D. And when it's done right, it can be used effectively. But this is just some of the most pathetic excuses for 3D that I've ever seen in this entire franchise. Not to mention, this also has some of the worst fucking characters of this entire franchise. Aside from George, who gets a little bit of development, which is one of the only few positives in this movie. Also, it doesn't help here that the writing and the dialogue that these characters have to say and you get nothing interesting out of it. It's just bland, cookie cutter, generic, run of the mill bullshit. It would be one thing if this was just a mediocre, generic horror film. But this is the fourth Final Destination. It's not like this went on a nosedive with the second movie and then the third movie was direct to video. That would at least make sense. This is the fourth attempt at a Final Destination movie and you just screwed the pooch. Even the director, David R. Ellis, it feels like he's not really giving it his much here. One of the writers of the second movie and the Butterfly Effect, Eric Bress, is writing. It doesn't feel like he's not able to fully commit. And the worst part of it all, when you're a producer of this franchise hates this movie, you know that's a problem. When the producer of this franchise hates it, because this almost damn near killed it. Fortunately, we have 2 more of these to get back on track. A few things stands out, like the cast tries, like Bobby Campo, such. The ladies are lovely, obviously, and Haley Webb and the lovely Chantel Van Santen, which this was one of the very first things I ever saw her in. I like the score, the title sequence is cool in the opening credits, and you do get a nice little guys moment, as I should say. But that's not enough to save this movie from being on this list, because if nothing else is there, you officially fail as a Final Destination movie. Also, the mall sequence is pretty cool too. I loved that as a kid. I still do. It's one of the only few things I like, especially when I see people react to this movie. I get excited seeing that. But beyond that, Final Destination 4 is the worst of the franchise. Avoid this bullshit at all costs. Number 5 is going to be Final Destination 2. I think this is a huge dip in quality. And this is from the writer and director of Final Destination 2. Eric Bruss is one of the writers, and David R. Ellis. And this I actually do think holds up very well. I do like the way the characters are portrayed here. You have some nice little college moments, and this is the one that makes you scared a lot of a lot of things in this movie, man. You get scared of the tree logs here. I do like the twists and turns they try to put on into it with the 80s minimalist action sequences. The log, the highway car crash is definitely a stayed out with some great practical effects and also some bits CGI here. A few of the other kills here is a little bit too ridiculous for my taste, but I will say it's still very much entertaining enough to where it can be fun and you can have some good goofiness with it. Some of the new characters are good too. I like the character of Kimberly. I loved seeing Ali Larter back, one of my first crushes growing up. I hate what they do with her, which is very anticlimactic, and I hate the way they treat Alex from the first movie.
Damn! Bitch!
Problem. What the fuck is this?
Bullshit! That is bullshit!
Pay dispute or not, that was still disrespectful. But AJ Cook and Ali Larter are good. I also like the guy from Living Single, Terrence Carson, and the police officer in this movie. Some of the deaths in this stuff freak me out, like Nora's death and the dental thing. And the cinematography, editing, and music is very well done. What holds us back here is, like I said, some CGI doesn't hold up. There are some issues with some of the writing, and it can be a little bit slow in the middle. So while it's a lot of people's favorite, for some people, it's not my personal favorite. But I'm comfortable enough to where I can stick it number 5. And if the fourth movie is the only bad one, then you're doing yourself a great job. In fourth place is going to be the original, the one that started it all. And you got to give it up to this first movie. This was the one that set the groundwork. This was the one that's told all of us how big this was going to be, or we were just expecting it. It's definitely a product of the 2000s, which is one of the things that can make or break it. But you know, for me, I really like the fact that it's a product of the 2000s and it embraces what you are. I really like that idea. It holds up very well. I like the performances here with Devin Sawa, Ali Larter, the late Tony Todd in this and the second one, and even the 5 and 6, and his voice cameo in the third one. It's still very much exactly what I want to watch when I watch a Final Destination movie. The opening plane premonition is great. A lot of kills is elaborate and as drawn out as they can be at times. Definitely are still entertaining and they still pack a punch here. There's just a few things here that doesn't really quite work for me when it comes to this movie. One, some dialogue is still hammy, but it was the early 2000s, so I can let it go. There is some moments here where it could be a little bit suspicious, but I think James Wan directs this with some competency and he directs this with some flair. So I definitely will give credit to that. Also, what kind of person here would stand next to a moving train when you're about to get killed? And don't even get me started on Carter. Carter just makes me want to punch the hell out of him every time I watch this movie. So with that being said, fuck you, you're an ass, you pretentious douchebag.
Wrong choice, asshole.
You're an inanimate fucking object!
Shut up!
No!
No. No. No.
Stanley.
Shut the freak up!
You are a pathetic motherfucker.
So for that, you are going down at the bottom of the barrel. So there's that. But other than that, Final Destination 1 is still a horror classic. And it's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. And one of my favorite movies of all time. Hello everyone, it is Joshua here. So as you are watching the video, this is kind of my reminder to tell you guys to, if you are the 80.4 to 90 or more, or the 5% returning members who are not subscribed to the channel, please be sure to subscribe to the channel because it does help this channel grow and it does help the algorithm as well. Also, if you're listening on Spotify to any of these reviews or live streams, please be sure to drop the 5-star rating on Spotify, on Epictastic Live Podcast, and comment your thoughts. With that being said, I click you back and enjoy the video. In number 3 is Final Destination Bloodlines. I was very surprised at how much Zach Lievsky and Adam B. Stein was able to bring in some new fresh blood into this franchise. You would think for 14 years this would be the one where things starts to get a little bit exhausting and you would not have anything more to prove. But here, this is what I love, and it reminds me why I first loved this franchise in the first place. For one, a fresh concept of what happens when a survivor of death is built the life in a family, and the death doesn't just forget, and it comes from everyone. And there's some great plot, there's a great reason behind all the chaos, there's some great emotional moments. The characters here and the choices feel realistic most of the time. Not all of it works for me personally, but some of it really does do a very good job in the emotional story. The way they're able to handle Caitlin Santos Joanna and her character, also the little brother played by Tion Browns, I think they're very strong leads. You also have one of the other characters I thought was a standout here is kind of emo guy. Breck Basinger did a good job for her playing the younger version of the grandmother character, and this is also a very good send-off for the late Tony Todd as Bloodworth, which even though he goes off script at one point, is nice to see him back in this. And Tony Todd, is coming because this is his last movie, but I will say overall, he did a very strong job for his final appearance. The kills in this are still that classic Final Destination with some good practical effects, even though some of it could be a little bit CGI, but I see a lot of what they were going for. The filmmaking also here is good here as well. A few issues with some of the characters who don't believe her, but that's always something you're going to have to get used to when the franchise. The ending is definitely templated because you do have a formula, it has to stick with it where no one dies. And a few issues with some characters and writing here, but this is one of the better horror sequels out there, one of the better legacy sequels, and another good strong entry in this franchise to where if this was the end of the franchise, I could definitely be okay with it. But if they want to do another one, especially without Tony Todd, I'm curious, but you should do more fresh creativeness like this. Coming in the runner-up is Final Destination 5. A huge step up from part 4, man, because in 2009 such 2011 I still liked the fourth one, but I was starting to be aware of its problems, but this came in and just fixed everything. This is just a very awesome little film. Of course, there are some cheesy dialogue at points, which you come to expect, and also some of the characters here are not the most likable, but like I said, this is a great step up. From the beginning of this movie with the iconic bridge collapse, which that is one of my favorite moments. The way they were able to do that with practical and CGI, that is commendable and that is effort put into it. I love the fact that they decided to put some effort into it and they made it great. And the way they choose to go at it, I think is really very interesting here. The other deaths, like you have one in the acupuncture, which it starts off good but a little anticlimactic. One in the gym that is just pretty brutal. The one that's the most stressful and anxiety filled, but also seriously undeserving, is in the case of Olivia, played by the lovely Jacqueline McInnes Wood. There's a lot of good things in here. You have some better characters like Nicholas D'Agosto and Emma Bell and Tom Cruise lookalike 574 and the rest of the cast to keep you going. Tony Todd, is nice to see him back again. And the twist ending. As a kid, as a teenager in 2011, I didn't see that coming, but that was just something that was unexpected. I'm like, they really went for it. So yeah. Of course, some issues here with some characters and some writing and some goofy CG at points and some deaths not being the best. But you know what? For something that was a sigh of relief after the fourth movie was so bad, or the case so disappointing when I liked it, but such, it's good to have a good Final Destination yet again. And which leads me to the only one I need to talk about in number one, is because it is Final Destination 3. This is the best one for me. I know some people say otherwise, but for me, this is the one I've watched the most. It's the one I've enjoyed the most. It rightfully assumes that you know how this universe is going to work, and it gets right into the good stuff. Topping off with that awesome roller coaster scene, which as a kid I'm scared of roller coasters, but I've been on one. They're not really that scary. I did have fun with it. There are some very great moments in this, and I think overall is a very entertaining moment. I also love the SpongeBob reference that they make in this movie too. But there's some great moments in this that is still disturbing and that's still awesome. I love the characters in this. They may not be some of my favorites of the characters, but Mary Elizabeth Winstead and Ryan Merriman from the Disney Channel, they do enough to make it work. Some of the other actors, they're good here, but also you can definitely tell that they are playing their stereotypes. James Wong does this with some good direction. This is also the last movie to be composed by Shirley Walker before she passed away that same year. Cinematography is great. I love the deaths in here. I like how crazy it gets. This is where it starts to go in a little bit of a CGI mindless route, but I can still get some fun and some enjoyment out of it. So you definitely are getting what you're coming to pay for here when it comes to it. And in terms of some of the deaths, the tanning bed is pretty brutal. I definitely do think that is one of the more brutal moments here. So you definitely do get that here. Some issues aside here with some characters and some CGI, and obviously there are some moments where some CGI and some stuff isn't always the best. But for 2006, 18 years to 19 years coming soon, I still very much like this movie for what it is. So it definitely has its issues, but I will say of the Final Destination movies, I definitely like this one the most. It's the one I watched the most. It's the one I enjoyed the most. Okay, that was definitely a lot less longer than my last ranking, so in the comment section down below, what you guys think of this Final Destination ranking. If you are one of those people who defend Final Destination 4, have at it in the comments and tell me why. Do you like this ranking? Do you hate it? Are you somewhere right in the middle? How would you rank it? All my social media links in the description box down below. If you are listening to this on Spotify, be sure to give us some love. Be sure to like, share, and comment, and hit the notification bell for more videos like this. As always, stay epictastic, join the epitasticness, and you guys keep it cool as always.
Well, that's going to do it for the video that you just watched. If you want to see more, my channel icon is up here. If you want to see more content from me, all my social medias are right here in this end card. I will also leave a playlist and a video here for you to see what the channel is about. As always, acknowledge me, stay epitastic, join the epitasticness, and you guys keep it cool.